dāsa-vṛndāvanaṁ vande Krishnadas-prabhuṁ tathā chanavatar Chaitanya-lila vishtaraka-nino dvau nityānanda-pādābja-karuṇā-reṇu-bhuṣitau vyakta-chchhannau budhāchintyau vāvande vyāsa-rūpiṇau śrī-guru-gaura-gāndharvā-govindāś gaṇaiḥ saha jayanti patakascha sarvesham karunartino. So we are here at Shri Saraswati Sridhar Govinda Seva Kunja in Hungary. We're continuing with our morning reading of Śrī Chaitanya-charitamrita. And we are beginning the Madhya-lila, which is a very exciting moment. We've completed the Adi-lila, which is setting the ontological, philosophical foundation upon which the divine lila of Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be built. And, one thing I was reflecting on is, some of us have just come from India, and we're also, we were in Navadvip, and we're also thinking about our next pilgrimage to the Holy Dham. And so, when we're there, and then we're coming and reading the divine words of Chaitanya-charitamrita, everything becomes more meaningful, right? We're looking through this with fresh eyes, like, we were there in that holy land, it's bringing everything to life for us. And Chaitanya-charitamrita is always fresh, it is always new. No matter how many times you're going through it, it is always something. It is a new journey every time. And this is the nature of Krishna consciousness. Krishna is described as Nava Yovanam. He is ever fresh, ever youthful. So everything about him is also fresh and new and dynamic. And there's always some new revelation. And Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, right? He's in the Mahaprabhu we can appreciate as the highest manifestation of the Absolute. And he also is exploring his own self. He's discovering new heights, within his own self. So it is always, if we are alert, if we are paying attention, if we're practicing properly, then it's always new and it's always fresh. Okay, so we're beginning the Madhya-lila. This is a very exciting moment for us, the middle section of Śrī Chaitanya-charitamrita. So chapter 1, the later pastimes of Lord Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yasya prasadad agyopi sadya sarva gyatam rajat sa Śrī Chaitanya devo me bhagavan samprasidatu. Even a person with no knowledge can immediately acquire all knowledge simply by the benediction of Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, I am praying to the Lord for his causeless mercy upon me. Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityānanda Sahodito Gaurade Pushpavanto Chitro Shando Tamonudo. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Shri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityānanda, who are like the sun and moon. They have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Gauda to dissipate the darkness of ignorance and thus wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. So this is a very wonderful image, a very wonderful analogy. Kaviraj Goswami, his poetry is so beautiful, and one thing that comes up again and again is such beautiful imagery and analogy. It just brings everything to life. So Shri Krishna, like the sun, imagine the sun and the moon rising in the sky, at the same time. So, and they're giving illumination to everything, to all. So simultaneously to dissipate the darkness of ignorance and bestow benediction upon all. These are always the two actions of divine grace, to remove the darkness, to remove the ignorance, to clean things up, right? To do some clearing, and then to establish some new, beautiful manifestation there. The development of our inner wealth of divine love, divine inspiration. Jayatam surato pangur mamamanda matergati matsarvasva parambojo radha madana mohano. This is a verse everybody knows, very famous. Glory to the all-merciful Radha and Madan Mohan. I am lame and ill-advised, yet they are my directors, and their lotus feet are everything to me. This verse, it's so, we're chanting this verse every day, right, in our morning and evening vandana prayers. And it's easy to go through these things by rote, right? But if we stop and meditate on them for a moment, everything is so, there's so much there. We can just stop and spend our whole day, right, meditating on one of these lines. And this verse it always feels so relevant, right? Because this is our situation, right? That we are nothing, we are nowhere. We are in a very confused state of ignorance. But we have some hope, right? That our gurus have accepted us. They are taking care of us. They are managing us, right? So then we have something. On our own, we have nothing, but because of our relationship with our divine guardians, then we have everything. We can say our wealth is that we have some attachment to our divine guardians and that they have accepted us. And that is then we can think we are very wealthy people. Divya Drindaranya Kalpa Jumada Shima Ratna Gada Simhasanasto Shiganharva Shila Govinda Devo Prishtalabi Sevyamano Shmarami. In a temple of jewels in Vrindavan, underneath a desire tree, Shri Radha Govinda, served by their most confidential associates, sit upon an effulgent throne. I offer my humble obeisances unto them. Shriman Rasara Sarambi Vam Shiva Tatastita Karshan Venu Sanir Gopir Gopinata Shriestuna. May Gopinath Ji, who attracts all the gopis with the song of his flute, and who has begun the most melodious rasa dance on the bank of the Jamuna and Vamshivat, be merciful upon us. Jai Jai Gaur Chandra Jai Kripa Sindhu Jai Jai Shachi Sutta Jai Dina Bandhu. All glories unto Śrī Gaura Hari, who is an ocean of mercy. All glories unto you, the son of Shachi Devi, for you are the only friend of all fallen souls. Jai Jai Nityānanda Jai Dvaita Chanja Jai Shiva Sadi Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. All glories unto Lord Nityānanda and Advaita Prabhu, and all glories unto all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, headed by Srivas Thakur. Purveko Hiloadi Lilar Sutragan Jaha Vistadi Hachandas Vrindavan. I have previously described in synopsis the Adi-lila, initial pastimes, which have already been fully described by Vrindavan Das Thakur. So this is an important point which comes up again and again, which is that, and is showing a beautiful example teaching for us, regarding what is the Vaishnava mood and what is Vaishnava culture. That Vaishnavas always want to defer to other Vaishnavas, right? Vaishnavas always want to glorify other Vaishnavas, put other Vaishnavas in a higher position. So there's this deep mood of respect and sensitivity in the ways in which the Vaishnavas move and do things, right? So Kaviraj Goswami, by the request of the Vaishnavas, he's coming to present Chaitanya-charitamrita. However, he's fully aware that Vrindavan Das Thakur before him has already presented a pure text. Shuddha Grantha Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes Chaitanya Bhagavat, right? And so for that reason, Kaviraj Goswami is very careful, in how he is presenting. He doesn't want to cross over, right, what has already been done by Vrindavan Das Thakur. And so wherever Vrindavan Das Thakur has already, given some complete, full, detailed description of the Lila of Mahaprabhu, then Kaviraj Goswami, he's giving just some summary of that. And then he's elaborating upon whatever Vrindavanas Thakur has not spoken of so much. Ataiva tarami sutra macha koilo jai kichu vishe sutra madhye kohilo. I've therefore given only a synopsis of those incidents, and whatever specifics were to be related have already been given in that synopsis. Ebekohi shesh lila mukya sutra gan prabhara shesh lila najai varnan. To describe the unlimited pastimes of Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not possible. But I now wish to relate the chief incidents and give a synopsis of those pastimes occurring at the end. So, one point here is that Kaviraj Goswami, he's actually at the end of his life, right, in this world. And he feels this responsibility, right? This task has been given to him. This service has been given to him to present the Leela of Mahaprabhu. But he's also feeling old age, right? And he's feeling that he doesn't have much time. And so therefore this isn't his humility, right? Because he could easily think, this is an important service that I have. The Lord, he will, give me the time that I need. But actually the Vaishnavas, they don't have that confidence, that arrogance, right? They're feeling themselves to be ordinary humans, right? Like our Gurudev, we heard from his secretaries that every time our Gurudev was going to leave India for a world tour, he would review his will, he would make sure everything was in order, because he was thinking this may be the last time. I may leave the world at any moment and I may not be returning. I don't know. He's feeling this helplessness within himself. He's not sure. He doesn't have that confidence. Oh, I'm a great devotee of the Lord, right? Krishna will protect me. Sometimes we see that mood. And I've seen some carelessness like that in some practitioners. Our Gurudev, he was always very responsible, careful, cautious. He's feeling humbly to be an ordinary person, and he has to take care and everything. So Kaviraj Goswami also is showing that mood. And so what he does here is at the beginning of the Madhya-lila, at the beginning of the middle section on Mahaprabhu's pastimes, he gives a summary of the final pastime, because he thinks I may not have time, I may not get there. So first I'll give a summary of the middle pastimes, and I'll give a summary of the final pastimes. And then if I have time, if I'm still alive, Gurudev would say that, right? You probably heard him. If I am alive, he would say. Like pulling at everyone's heartstrings. In the last few years before he left, he would say that sometimes, right? To devotees are coming to say goodbye, and our Gurudev would say, yes, and I will see you next time you come if I am alive. Many times he'd say in different moments. So this is Kaviraj Goswami's presentation. Dharma jeje bhagdas Vrindavan Chaitanya mangale vistadi korila varnam se gaṇaiḥ sutra machali kibo tathā vishesh kichu vistadibo. I shall describe only in synopsis that portion which Vrindavan Thakur has described very elaborately in his book Chaitanya Mangal. So Chaitanya Mangal, the previous name, right, of Chaitanya Bhagavat. Whatever incidents are outstanding, however, I shall later elaborate. Chaitanya-lila Vyasas das Vrindavan Taragyai kadota uchishta charvan. Actually, the authorized compiler of the pastimes of Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Srila Vrindavan Das, the incarnation of Vyasadeva. Only upon his orders am I trying to chew the remnants of food that he has left. Very beautiful, very heart-touching expression. So, Vyasadeva is a title, actually, right? when we say Vyasadeva, we think of Kṛṣṇa-dāsa-prabhuṁ, Veda Vyas, right? The sage who compiled the Vedas. But actually, Vyas is a title, and it refers to one who is disseminating, who is presenting, distributing a particular knowledge. And so Veda Vyas is he who spread the knowledge of the Vedas, right? And he is Kṛṣṇa-dāsa-prabhuṁ, that is actually his name. And so as there's a Vyas for Kṛṣna-Līlā and for the Vedas, right? So there is also, we can consider, there's a Vyas for Chaitanya-lila, right? Who is that like authorized, appointed person, right? Who is spreading the divine Lila and divine message of Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a written form, right? In a recorded form. And so Kaviraj Goswami, he's saying, oh, that is Vrindavandas. He's the Vyas. He's the person, right? He's the guy. That's what he's saying. I'm just coming behind him, chewing on his remnants, chewing on his leftovers, right? I'm just supporting him in my little way. This is his humble expression. But what's very interesting is that Vrindavanas Thakur, he's writing before Kaviraj Goswami, right? He's like a generation earlier. They didn't meet. And Vrindavan Das doesn't know about the, Kaviraj Goswami's later work, right? Because he's writing before. However, Vrindavan Das, as he's writing, his feeling is that I'm not qualified to present Chaitanya-lila. And he mentions once or twice in Chaitanya Bhagavat that Vyasadeva will come, he says, in the future. So he's predicting, right? He's foreshadowing, if that's the right word, the presentation of Kaviraj Goswami, right? That something, the real thing's going to come, right? I'm just giving, some beginner thing, right? I'm giving my humble presentation, but the real thing's going to come later, right? This is the expression of Kaviraj, of Vrindavan Das Thakur. So he's indicating the future appearance of Chaitanya-charitamrita and Kaviraj, honoring Kaviraj Goswami's work, even though he's not naming him. And so in this way, both of them are deferring to one another. It's a very beautiful, beautiful thing. They're both honoring one another. They're both deferring to one another. It's very beautiful. And so our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, he harmonized this in a very wonderful way. And this verse we always like to chant when we are beginning Chaitanya-charitamrita. This is our Gurudev's original verse, and very unique, beautiful angle of vision. And he composed this when he came to write the introduction for our edition of Chaitanya Bhagavat, right? We have our Mat edition of Chaitanya Bhagavat in Bengali, and our Gurudev wrote a very beautiful introduction. And as a part of that, he composed this original verse. And in that verse, our Gurudev is harmonizing both of these views, right? And showing how both Vrindavan Das Thakur and Kaviraj Goswami, they can both be considered the Vyasas of Chaitanya-lila. So dāsa-vṛndāvanaṁ vande, kṛṣṇa-dāsa-prabhuṁ tathā, Chanavatar Chaitanya-lila vistara kadino dvau nityānanda-pādābja-karuṇā-reṇu-bhuṣitau vyakta-chchhannau budhāchintyau vāvande vyāsa-rūpiṇau śrī-guru-gaura-gāndharvā Govinda's gaṇaiḥ saha jayanti patakascha sarvesham gurunartino. So here our Gurudev, he's pointing out, right, that Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there were two layers to his pastimes, right? And this is something Kaviraj Goswami explains in the first pages of Chaitanya-charitamrita, that he is on one level, he's coming as the Yuga avatar, right? As the avatar for the age, coming to spread the movement of Harinam Sankirtan and thereby uplift all souls, right? So this is one layer. This is the public aspects, the outer layer of who is Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But then there's also that internal aspect, right? That he's Radha Bhava Duti Suvolitam Naumi Krishna. So that he is Krishna, covered by the enriched by the heart and halo of Srimati Radharani, right? So this is Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. This is not the Yuga avatar, where he's coming to spread the Yuga Dharma. But this is Krishna, original Vrindavan Krishna, wanting to, who has his own program, his own desire, that he wants to taste that heart of the devotee, his supreme devotee, Radharani, his divine potency, his divine feminine potency, Shri Radha. And so sometimes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's referred to as the Chana avatar, right? Means the hidden avatar. This is mentioned in the scriptures. So Chanavatar, Gurudev uses this phrase. So Gurudev, he makes this very interesting, wonderful point, right? That so therefore, because there are these two layers to Chaitanya Dev's Lila, divine Lila, then there may also be two Vyasas, right? There may be two persons who are each presenting one of these two aspects, right? And so then he's pointing out, right, Vrindavan Das Thakur, he's elaborating more upon the Yuga avatar aspect, right? Vrindavan Das Thakur is not going into the deeper, more esoteric understanding of Mahaprabhu as the combined form of Shri Shri Radha Krishna. Vrindavan Das Thakur is not going into that, He's more in the mood of Sakya Ras, in the mood of friendship with the Lord. And he has this special affinity for Nityānanda Prabhu also. So he's not going into these Madhura Rasa topics, right? So Vrindavan Thakur is describing that aspect of the Lord, the Yuga avatar aspect of Mahaprabhu's Lila. And then Srila Kaviraj, Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami, he is going into the more internal, more private, higher aspect of Krishna exploring the mood of Radharani. So they both have this position as the Vyasas of Chaitanya-lila, describing different aspects of his divine Lila. And in this verse, Gurudev also, Gurudev Srila Govinda Maharaj, he also points out that he says, dvau nitya, it's a very beautiful line, dvau nityānanda-pādābja-karuṇā-reṇu-bhuṣitau, that they are both decorated with the merciful foot dust of Nityānanda Prabhu, right? They both received, in different ways and at different times, they both received the special mercy of Nityānanda Prabhu, right? Before they came to present this work and their service, before they came to take that up, they've received the blessings of Nityānanda. And it was by the blessings of Nityānanda Prabhu they were able to present the Lila of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right? Vrindavan Das Thakur, he was the last disciple, direct disciple of Nityānanda. He used to travel with Nityānanda Prabhu. And it was by his will that Vrindavan Das Thakur, came to write Chaitanya Bhagavat. And Kaviraj Goswami also, he didn't meet Nityānanda in person, but he received the special mercy of Nityānanda. And in particular, he stood up against those who were offensive to Nityānanda Prabhu. And he invited the blessings of Nityānanda. Nityānanda appeared to him in a special vision in his dream and gave him the instruction to go to Vrindavan. And so everything began for Kaviraj Goswami, by the blessings and instruction of Nityānanda Prabhu. And in Chaitanya-charitamrita, there in the Adi-lila, in the first section, there's that beautiful description, Adi-lila chapter 5, right? The glories of Nityānanda Ram, where Kaviraj Goswami, at the end of that chapter, he's giving this wonderful description of how he personally received the grace of Nityānanda Prabhu, and saying, I've come to Vrindavan, I've attained everything here I've attained the shelter, Rup and Sanatan, Shri Radha, Krishna, and so on. It is all by, he's emphasizing again and again, it's all by the mercy of Nityānanda Prabhu. So this is a very important point. Our Gurudev is emphasizing that, that by the grace of Nityananda, they came to present this wonderful service to the world. So dāsa-vṛndāvanaṁ vande Krishnadas from Janavatar Chaitanya-lila Vishtar Karino do Nityānanda-pādābja-karuṇā-reṇu-bhuṣitau vyakta-chchhannau budhāchintyau vāvande. So one of our Gurudev saying in this verse also, so one of them is presenting the hidden, inconceivable pastimes of Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the other one is presenting that which is conceivable and that which is revealed. So there's what is hidden, what is revealed, what is conceivable, what is inconceivable, right? So the two of them, they are presenting these two different aspects of Mahaprabhu's Lila. This is our Gurudev's very wonderful verse. Actually, our Gurudev, his stature and his quality as a Vaishnava poet is kind of underrated, because actually he many things he composed, he published in other people's names, and this also fits in to this discussion, right? How the Vaishnavas are always deferring to other Vaishnavas, and many of our Gurudevs, he wrote many verses, like there are some verses he wrote, for example, glorifying some of the god brothers of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, but he would publish them in other persons' names in the Gaudiya Darshan magazine. Some articles that he wrote also, he published in other people's names. And another thing is our Gurudev, one thing too is that he didn't have time to do everything that he wanted to do, because as time went by and our mission became bigger and bigger. And Gurudev had made the promise, right, to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, I'll take care of your devotees, right? If you accept these Western devotees coming, I promise I'll take responsibility for them. And our Gurudev carried that responsibility in a very serious way, right, until his last moment in this world. So there were some writing, there was some writing our Gurudev talked about. There was some commentaries of Rupa Goswami's poetry he wanted to compose in a poetic form. He talked about that. There was also the request of Srila Sridhar Maharaj to complete one of his works. And our Gurudev talked about staying in Govardhan in his last days and finishing this. But he didn't have time, He became so busy with the management of the mission. So that was another factor. But another factor, too, that I noticed is that in the same way that Kaviraj Goswami and Vrindavan Thakur are very careful in not writing what someone else has already written, our Gurudev also had that feeling. And there was one time I was there in his room one morning in Calcutta, and he was mentioning that there's this verse of Prabodhananda Saraswati, which our Gurudev liked very much. How does it begin? Nindantam pulakot gadena vikasam ipa prabhusha chavam begins like this. It's a very beautiful verse describing Mahaprabhu in Sankirtan in the streets of Nadia with the Panchatattva, and he's raising his hands in ecstasy and Hari Hari chanting Hari Hari, and his hairs are standing on ends like beautiful golden kadamba flowers, and tears are pouring from his eyes and drenching the earth. And very beautiful description. And our Gurudev, he liked that very much. But one morning, we were sitting with him in his veranda, and he mentioned, I was thinking that I would compose a verse describing this Sankirtan scene with Mahaprabhu. But then I saw that Prabodhananda Saraswati, he had already done it, So then I didn't write, And I was thinking, oh, Gurudev, we would be so happy, if you would also write something, we would be very happy to read what inspiration you have, But he had that feeling of respect, like, oh, he's honoring, Prabodhananda Saraswati has already described this type of scene, then I don't need to do it, That was his mood. So well, let's see. We can maybe stop there. We don't need to go too long. I feel happy about what we've been able to discuss this morning. Okay, stop there. Jai Śrī Chaitanya-charitamrita ki Jai, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki Jai, Śrī Chaitanya Bhagavat ki Jai, Srila Vrindavan's Thakur ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Deva-Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Deva-Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Jai Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol.